ever felt that being spiritual sometimes means needing to rise above your human experience, when really your body is the key to feeling more alive, grounded, and connected to your soul? Today's guest, Leslie Ellis, believes that our bodies are sacred vessels for awakening, and her insights on embodiment, play, and pleasure will help you rediscover the beauty of being fully human. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Angels and Destiny show, where we explore spiritual wisdom, healing, and transformation to help you take charge of your destiny. I'm Ray Cowan, founder of Radiant Angel Energy, and I'm a spiritual guide and healer, helping you reconnect with your divine presence and create a life of purpose and fulfillment through angelic Reiki, guided meditation, and intuitive journeys across past, present, and future lives. Now, the meaning of angel is messenger and destiny means to make firm establish. So each week, my guests and I bring you messages to help you ground divine energy and wisdom into your everyday life. Now, in today's episode, I'm joined by Leslie Ellis, a yoga therapist and soul-based coach who helps women reconnect with their bodies, rediscover their inner wisdom, and live with greater authenticity and joy. Now, through her work, she invites us to see embodiment as a sacred practice, one where healing, creativity, and spiritual awakening come together in everyday life. Now, with testimonials such as one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had with yoga, and working with you is losing the desire to hide myself. I have learned to be vulnerable with myself and with others in a way I could not have anticipated. You make a difference in my life. And Leslie's teachings help me to see myself more clearly. This path is not prescriptive or rigid, but it's clear edges to help keep me focused while allowing space and choice. Her practical yet deeply nuanced approach is grounded and explicit, unlike other teachers I've experienced. So, without further delay, hello, Leslie, and a warm welcome to the Angels and Destiny show. How are you today?
I am doing really well, Ray. Thank you so much. I didn't know you were going to share testimonials. That's very sweet. Just, as you read those words, I know the women who wrote them. So I have their faces and their energy now around me, just helping to hold this space that you and I are holding together. They're very present in it. So I really appreciate that. Um, yeah, the women I work with are so important. I think I'm one of those people who my mission in life is my work. I certainly have, other elements, but the this work with embodiment as a spiritual practice is just so very important to me.
Excellent. So I am looking forward to hearing about this. And I want to remind everyone, whether you're joining us live or catching the replay, that we'd love you to be part of this conversation. So please do let us know in the comments what resonates with you. Ask questions, we will circle back to them. And or share your own experiences of balancing spirituality with being human. So please don't be shy. So Leslie, I'm eager to for you to share a little bit about your journey, the women you work with, and how connecting more deeply with our body can actually deepen our spiritual path.
Yeah. Well, I would say, and I won't tell the whole story, of course, but if I went way back in my life, I would have had no idea what embodiment was or would have no connection to that. And I imagine many people who listen can maybe relate to that. We are a society where we kind of live from the neck up, right? We're in our heads, and there's so much societal pressure about what our bodies are like and what like who we are as and being interpreted somehow from our physical presence. So I was fortunate in my early 20s to start doing yoga, though, and that embodied practice. And I might say more about this in a little bit, but just doing yoga doesn't mean that you're fully embodied, because we can do yoga just by thinking our ways through too, even a movement practice. But it certainly set me on the path to exploring more deeply. So now I continue to teach yoga. I'm also a yoga therapist, and people often ask me what's the difference, because yoga itself can be very therapeutic and healing, of course, but a yoga therapist has more training, more specific skill around taking you into something very particular that you want to address through yoga. I'm also a soul-based coach with the intention of helping people to really connect into that deeper wisdom and understanding and knowledge about themselves. I work mostly with women, and like you said before, really helping them to step into their bodies or into relationship with their bodies more fully. It's a way that we can really help us to move through the transitions of life, like when we're having changes, when we have stress, when we need to find our way through any kind of challenge. That sense of that ability, I guess, that skill of really going to your body for knowledge, for wisdom, and for staying present with what it is that's happening is so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely is, and I think so much, especially as women, um, and I'm guessing a lot more men these days than in previous years because of social media, etc. We really don't trust our bodies or look at our bodies as these beautiful vessels that we're in.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I have, like I said, I started doing yoga when I was in my early 20s. And so I've been engaged in the spiritual community and with yoga, with meditation, and then many other um, modalities and all of that since then. But what I would say is one of my observations in the spiritual community is there's sometimes this, it's like this goal of transcendence, right? We want to become awakened, enlightened, and somehow that gets construed as we need to transcend our bodies. We need to like go to spirit. And I even say it like that because there's a separation that happens. Um, if we think about many of the spiritual teachings, they say it's all one. But in my own studies, especially early on, and I feel like it has changed some, and maybe that's because of where I hang out now, or maybe there's just a broader recognition or understanding about it. But we can't separate from our human bodies. Like our humanness, to me, is part of the beauty of living life. And we've probably all heard um, that quote, like, we're spiritual beings living in a human body. I think that's beautiful. But remember, we're spiritual beings living in a human body. It's through our bodies that we get to experience life. It's that through our bodies that we get to experience everything that goes on in our lives, all the joys and the challenges, like through our senses, our vision, our hearing, taste, smell, feel, like all of that is such an important part of being. We also, I think of the other quote, like, I'm a human being, not a human doing. Right? But I'm a human being, and if I really want to be, I need to like be my human self. I could do that in a spiritual way, but being spiritual isn't somehow separate from that.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think a lot of people do kind of like try and separate both of those. And it is, if you think back to the tales that come about the yogis and how their bodies were here and their spirits were up there, and I think sometimes that gets confused with people thinking that they have to sort of like leave their body to be that enlightened.
Yeah, yeah. And I would say I've spent a lot of time in meditation circles, meditation retreats, those kinds of things. I have met a lot of people who are really good at meditation, but aren't really very good um, with people and with tolerating human behavior. And I think that when our spiritual practices take us away from our bodies, there's certainly some amazing things that can happen in that, right? We can have beautiful transcendent experiences, but my goal ultimately is even those transcendent experiences to help me to live better and to be present in my life and to be able to hold space for myself and everything that goes on inside this body being and for other people. And so I guess I have, a really strong feeling like our spiritual practices can help us be the very best human that we can be, right? They don't have to take us away from ourselves. There's also the spiritual teachings of like self, not self. What is self? What is not self? What is divine? What is like, not. And I guess I just feel it and see it a little bit more globally. Like it's all part of the divine manifestation of energy, of matter, of all of that, like that I'm a piece of that. And so my life, I want it to be about exploring that. And yes, growing and not getting caught in the muck of the human, but also not being afraid of that muck. It's like maybe people have heard too, like the lotus flower, right? Which is a symbol in yoga. It grows out of the muck, like the beauty that we can express as ourselves, the beauty that we can experience in each and every day grows much out of that muck. When we try to separate ourselves from that, we limit our ability to perceive the everything really, and to cope and to navigate the challenges. And when we allow ourselves to kind of settle into that muck sometimes and sort of see what's there for us, and what I don't want to just say like, how we can grow from it, what lessons there are. I feel like sometimes that gets shared a little tritely, like, oh, well, every challenge you have, it's what's the lesson in it? And usually there are lessons, right? For sure there are. But sometimes I'm also just human enough that I don't want the lesson. And if I can even breathe into that, like my resistance or my discomfort with something, I don't have to necessarily intellectually understand the lesson, but I can then feel the change in my body. And I guess that's part of it. It's like I if I don't understand or couldn't articulate or put words to what the lesson is, if the way that I move through that and the way that I process it helps to calm my nervous system and allows me to feel more relaxed, I feel like that's a win. And it helps me then to do the next thing that I need to do in the best way that I can.
Beautiful, and such a good reminder for us, because in our busy lives we do tend to forget that, and we do tend to just focus on thinking or overthinking what the lesson is that we need to learn, when sometimes we just need to know it's happened, whatever the lesson may be.
Yeah. 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 And then, yeah, because we can, just to rephrase, I guess, what you said, but we can like process it intellectually all we want, and have good understanding and insight and, like psychological growth. But I want it to impact my emotional resilience and the way that I feel being in my body and being present with whatever it is that comes next. You know, you hear a lot of people who, well, I had a client a while back that she told me we did some soul-based coaching, and soul-based coaching is really about, like I said before, like going to that internal wisdom, but it's very much an embodied coaching. I'm not like helping you figure out what to do next. It's really getting present in your body and allowing information to come forward that is um, there for you to um, expand your experience of whatever it is that's happening. I was trying to say that in like the easiest way possible. But this client said, you know, I've had so much therapy. I've seen many, many therapists and like worked on all these processes. But doing that, like really being present in my body as we were going through the coaching, and both what we do is we locate symbols and metaphors and imagery that helps to guide us. You know, she was so surprised because, again, instead of this sort of psychological process of understanding and talking about the past and everything that's happened and trying to figure it all out, she was just present with where she is now, with what's alive and awake in her now. And there's a way that we know then how to move forward. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes absolute sense, because if we're not processing and understanding, then we don't know the next step, because when we feel it, it kind of like, oh, it makes it more real
Yeah,
rather than something that I could do. It's like I can do.
yeah, yeah. Just thinking about like that therapeutic process, and in a lot of the ways that we try to kind of figure out our lives, we don't always consider how it is that we're feeling as we do it. You know, when we're talking about things and trying to figure it out, if you're doing that kind of processing, but your body is tense and you're kind of holding yourself up in your chair and you're not able to like settle, the mind actually doesn't work as well either. So it's like that kind of goes together. You know, I was several years ago, it might have been almost 10 years ago, but I was working with this somatic therapist. And I've been a yoga teacher for a long time, almost 30 years now. I've practiced yoga even longer than that. And I felt like I was very much in my body, right? I can do all these things with my body, and I can breathe, and I can feel my breath, and I can trace sensation and all of that. But I was working with a somatic therapist, and I was just explaining something to her, describing my whatever it was, my experience in the moment. And she said to me, do you know that you're leaving your body as you're talking about this? And first I was shocked. I was like, well, how can I be leaving my body? I'm a yogi, a yogini. And I feel my feet on the ground and I feel my butt in the chair and I breathe. But she said that. And as soon as I tuned into it, I realized, and I kind of do this sometimes when I'm talking about it, like there's a big part of my attention that was like up over here, up and out to the right. And when I was really trying to connect to a feeling, I would even close my eyes and then turn my head like this. And on one hand, that was a way for me to kind of connect to that spiritual element, because I feel like that's inside, but it's outside too, right? It's everywhere. So on one hand, it was a coping skill that was helpful for me. But what I realized that in doing that, the information that available to me was much more limited, because when I could like turn my face back, even with my eyes closed, and like drop into my body and take a breath, like right in that moment when I felt myself start to drift, I was more articulate. I felt more clear. I felt more emotion sometimes. And so I realized like that was a subtle way for me to kind of transcend what was happening now. And so I could talk about it, and usually in quite spiritual terms. And, you know, I could sound enlightened probably. When I had to drop back into my body, maybe more tears would come and more feeling would come. And maybe I might even stumble with my words a little bit more, but things are processed in a different way and moved through. And I right away could feel that, yeah, my nervous system is responding differently right now. No longer am I trying to hold myself up and appear to have it all together. I actually can just relax a little bit into the mess, and that doesn't diminish who I am. And I think the experience that other people have in the presence of that is also much more relaxed, and is also much, and people can say like, feel like, oh, well, if you're okay. I get this feedback sometimes, like people, if I'm okay, having feelings, even getting a little tearful sometimes, or a lot tearful, or, and being able to breathe through it, it helps to open up that space for other people to do that too. And there's just more acceptance in it. Like, again, no longer am I like I somehow have to be perfect. I can just be real. And there's something very spiritual in that I think we don't always consider when we're thinking about having a spiritual life or being a spiritual person or having a spiritual practice. It's like being real, being authentic, being even normal in our own unique way, right? Can be very spiritual and very pleasurable.
Yeah, that really sort of like resonates so much, because we do tend to on a spiritual level, and I've seen it myself, and sometimes I probably do go into that space as well, where you kind of like you're talking, but you're not embodying what you're actually trying to explain to people or say to people. And the message can get confused a little bit. And again, I think that society has done that to us.
Mm-hmm.
The social media, what we see, what we hear, what goes on around is kind of like we have to hold ourselves to certain standards. I mean, we were talking before the show started about, where you see those most perfect podcasts or videos where people have kind of like spent the time putting it together to make it so perfect that it doesn't look as natural. And if we're not doing that with our bodies, then that doesn't make it look natural and authentic.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I just don't have time anymore to be perfect. It's like, well, I was just thinking about that. I can't imagine myself like sitting editing the video every couple of seconds so that everything looks looks perfect. It's like, no, take me as I am, um, because that's what I have to offer, right? Who I am in this lifetime on this planet, right here and now, is what I have to offer, is what you have to offer. It's what anyone watching and everyone else too. It's like what we have to offer ourselves, our own experiences, what we know deep inside of ourselves, our mission, our purpose. Like we don't come by that by thinking our way to it. Like we have to live it. And to me, living it is embodying it, being present with it, adoring it, like holding space for it. And then in that, we both express to others a sense of acceptance and love and encouragement for being who we are, which many of us say, like, oh, I just want everybody to feel comfortable being who they are, right? Until I'm comfortable being who I am, though, it's very hard to really hold that space for others to do. Again, it's an intellectual game. I can think about how accepting I want to be, but unless I accept myself and like really live in the human body that I've come onto the planet with this time around, it's going to be a challenge, and it's not going to be authentic.
Beautiful. And for anyone who's watching this live, and I can see we've got some people watching live or the replay, if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask, or if you want to share any experiences about embodiment and being, in the present and just spirituality, then please do feel free to put them in the comments, because we will, if we can't answer them live on air, we will come back. We will come back to them. So how do you normally work with people, Leslie? And what sort of people tend to come to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I said a little bit ago, it's I work primarily with women, although I have those soulful men who come and work with me too, which I always love. The approach that I take is really with embodiment, and in embodiment, connecting with the divine feminine is a huge piece, because the feminine element is that um, kind of moving energy, um, more willing in some way. And I'm not saying men and women. I want to be really clear about that. It's like the masculine element that, holds space, is and clear and strong and can take defined action, is super important. I want to embody that too. But the divine feminine, I feel like, has really been kind of pushed down, um, obliterated in some ways,
Yeah.
our appreciation about how one might be in life. And so we bring that forward. Um, and I do that in a number of ways. I'm not sure how helpful it is for me to like try to explain that. But the main practice, the primary practice, is a combination for me of the soul-based coaching, where we really connect to what is it that's important to you right now in this moment. What do you want to have happen is like a primary practice. So it's a very desire-based practice versus a problem-oriented practice. It's about what do you want, and to really connect to what you want. It's helpful to go into your body, not just into the ideas that you have about what you want, but I feel like that coaching process, it lets some of the things that the mind by itself, when you're thinking things through, would never allow, but it allows that to percolate to the surface. And then we can explore that and understand more about it. And then with yoga, so then we bring that into movement and into the body through yoga. Of course, I use all the other kind of aspects or modalities of yoga, breath work, meditation, relaxation, all of that with the intention of calming our nervous systems enough that it feels safe to be present in the moment. And that's one thing I think I'd like to say, is just because a lot of people say, like, oh no, I don't want to be in my body. It doesn't feel good. I
Mm.
have pain, or I have trauma in the past. People who have had abuse histories, sexual abuse, and other kinds of traumas, it can feel very uncomfortable to be in the body. So I think part of my work too is about befriending the body. And you don't have to like drop right into all the uncomfortableness. at first, um, it can be a process that's slow. By moving and just starting to sense our bodies in space is very helpful. So you don't want to be in your body. All right. I tell people a lot of times, what if you could be with your body? Like, what if you could? So we can do it. It's like you don't have to merge immediately. If your process and your coping strategy has always been to be outside of your body, like wherever it is for you, it might not feel safe just to like drop in, right? But can you be with your body? Can you just notice what movement feels like, and um, what sensations you're having? Um, yeah, I'm just seeing if there's anything else to say about that. Um, but yeah, that's the work, I guess. And then I think that the other piece of it is, I'm pretty good at just holding space for what is arising in the moment. And in holding that space, I think someone, within that space with me, it can feel safer just to turn our attention to aspects of ourselves that we don't always do, or that might not be naturally inclined to, because part of the human experience too is that we avoid and resist things that are uncomfortable, and we're drawn towards like what we like. And so part of the process too is like figuring out, well, where are those places where I can allow myself to build some tolerance and some resilience within discomfort. Even I think in yoga, one of the things I love is like, say, for anyone here who's done yoga before, you're laying in your back, holding onto your legs, stretching your hamstrings, right? It's a great pose. It's good for you physically, but also that sensation itself is like full of information. And so I like to like really go in and breathe into that sensation, feel that sensation. And I imagine if you've done yoga, you've experienced that. But think about it as a broader thing than, oh, I'm just stretching my hamstrings. You're getting more relaxed with a strong sensation. This is a very like simple example, right? But think about it like this. You're getting more comfortable with having a strong sensation. A lot of times beginning yoga students that would ask me like, when is it going to stop hurting, yoga? When is it going to stop hurting? And my answer as a yoga teacher is never. You just perceive it differently. It just, you just won't think of it as pain in the same way that you're thinking of it as pain right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll remember that when I next do my yoga class, because I've taken, because I dabbled in it years ago, and I've recently realised that I needed to really start doing it properly again. Yeah, and it's kind of like, so yeah, I'm gonna remember that. It's like, okay, what is this pain telling me? How can I, what can I make from it?
Can I relax into it? Can my nervous system be in a more balanced state, even though this pain exists in my body right now? And then also, I have to say too, I never have people push to pain. Like we want to work with our bodies in a way that's kind and compassionate, and going at a pace that feels safe. We can create that sense of safety in our bodies by um, exploring and like working with the body in a way that is safe. Yeah.
Hmm, beautiful, thank you. And Lou, who's watching, has said, this is so interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, you're
You're
welcome. Thank you so much for watching and being brave enough to let us know. So, as you know, I do guided meditations and I read angel oracle cards. And each week I like to ask my guests whether they would like me to do a mini guided meditation or pull an oracle card for themselves and those watching. So, Leslie, what would you like me to do?
I would love an oracle card.
Oh, and look, I've got them in my hand as
Oh,
we
thank
speak.
you.
Wonder why. Um, so as always, when I do the cards, I do the cards for what we need to know, or what you need to know for your highest good at this moment in time. Because even though I work with taking people into the past, when we go into the past, it's to learn, to heal, to grow, to get information from, so that it doesn't affect us in the present. And when I take people into the future, it's so they can see, understand, know where they're going, how they got there, to bring all that back to the present so they're not worrying about it and they can be fully present. So, what does Leslie and everyone who's watching this live or the replay need to know for their highs? Oh, okay. Excuse me for 1 second. Okay. Well, we had 4 drop out, but we definitely don't need. Actually, no. We normally only do 1, but we've had 4 that came out, and I guess
Numbers.
we're meant to go with those. So we've got in the flow, everything is smooth sailing, which works out quite nicely. Grace and gratitude, through gratitude, joy expands. Bogged in, go slow, take time. And first light, beginning a new cycle.
Mm.
And these cards work so beautifully with what you've been talking about today. As always, the cards always, I come out, and it is reminding us that, when we're in the flow, with things, then things do go a lot more smoothly than when we're trying to fight against it. And when we are grateful and have gratitude for being in our bodies now, you know, for what we can experience, then that brings us so much joy. And that, we don't need to be rushing. Like you said, if you can't bring yourself back into your body because of trauma, then you go slow, you take your time, and that begins to be at the beginning of a new cycle. So, it's really reminding everyone watching, and obviously saying to you, Leslie, that everything you're doing is absolutely perfect, and that, everything is smooth sailing now, and because you have that joy and that gratitude, and you're not rushing, you're taking your time to fully embody being who you are and being in your body, that's bringing these new cycles in for you. So I think that's absolutely brilliant. And for everyone watching, this is exactly the same for you. It's exactly the same message. Um, you know, just go with the flow, be grateful, don't rush, and new beginnings will come for you.
Mm-hmm. It's so beautiful. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I just love the way the cards come out, and obviously they didn't just want 1 card; they wanted several cards for yourself and everyone
Well,
watching.
thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So, Leslie, do you have any insights or thoughts or final words of wisdom to leave our viewers with?
Several years ago, I because of a number of things that happened, I won't try to tell all the stories, but I ended up with like a title of being the practical mystic. And I that comes to me right now. I didn't know I was going to share that, but that it comes to me like right now, like we sometimes feel like to either life is like holding us in the mundane and the practical, and just like we can get so like about whatever it is that's going on. When that's happening, to look for the magic and to look for the mystical, but to also recognize that rather than like always endeavoring for the mystical, we can go back to the practical, back to our human experience, back to our bodies. And there's a lot of magic just in whatever is happening in the moment. So, yeah, I really like bringing both of those elements in. Let's explore and play in the magic, but let's also really appreciate the here and now and what it is that we are doing to make that magic happen.
Beautiful. Thank you so, so much. So I hope everyone you've enjoyed this conversation and found insightful, because I know I definitely have. So if people want to connect with you, Leslie, how do they do that? And do you have anything coming up in the future, any free gifts, offers, or anything you want to share with us?
Yeah, excuse me. I know that we'll put the information in the with this recording with this conversation.
Yeah, yeah, in comments and description, everything will go in there.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Facebook. I am there. That's my primary social media, and I love connecting there. I have a website. It's yogaheartsong.com. And that's the name of my business. I don't think I ever said that. Heartsong Yoga, Wellness, and Coaching. And I do have, if you go to the website, right on the front, there is a free gift there. It's called the Four Realms of Sacred Self-Care. And so if you wanted to explore more some of what I share about how to kind of bring into a more embodied experience, that's there. And then the other thing is I do have coming up in just a few days, it's on this coming Thursday, I have a play shop coming on called The Art of Playful Living. And that is a pay what you want workshop. And I really mean that like zero to whatever, but we're going to be exploring like how play and pleasure, like how to bring that more into our daily lives. I'll share because I am a little bit of a science and yeah, just a science geek. So I'll share some of the science and neurology of how play impacts our systems. And really this sense of being more connected to like the joy and the play in our days as a way to enjoy being embodied.
Wonderful. And is that online or in person?
That's online. It's a
Oh,
virtual.
lovely.
Yes, so anybody anywhere is welcome. I tried to time it where it kind of works for anywhere in the world, unless you're probably in Australia. Why not? I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I put the poor Australians.
I live in the Pacific time zone, so we're really challenged.
No, that's beautiful. And I will put the link to that in the comments and the description as well. So thank you so much, Leslie, for sharing your journey and wisdom with us. It's been such an inspiring conversation. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for those of you that were watching and for those that have joined in with the conversation. So we had Lou earlier. And Jenna Park says, thank you both. Taking it slow, hashtag new beginnings. Thank you so much, Jenna, for letting us know. And of course, for anyone watching, if you'd like to continue deepening your connection with the angels, then you can download my free 5-day angel connection journey to open your channel and start receiving messages from your guides. And for those of you who are wanting ongoing support and community, then my Angel Wings membership is a beautiful space where we come together for live guided meditations, mini workshops, master classes, and soul nourishing practices to help you grow, heal, and live with purpose. And we have an absolutely amazing, supportive WhatsApp group where every member really supports each other. And of course, you'll also get access to a growing library of past meditations and teachings for whenever you need support. And of course, if you're ready for personal transformation, then my Soul Path Discovery program is a one-to-one journey of healing and self-discovery to help you release the past, awaken your soul's gifts, and align with your highest purpose and abundance. And of course, thank you so much for all those who are watching, whether on Facebook or YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, then please don't forget to subscribe, click the bell icon, and share this video with anyone who might be looking for guidance or inspiration on the spiritual path. And remember, every time you like, share, comment any of my work, any of Leslie's work, any of my guests' work, you're really being part of that beautiful web where we're connecting and sharing wisdom and inspiring, helping other people, and you can be part of that beautiful butterfly effect. So thank you so much for joining us. And remember, you are never alone on your journey. The angels are always with you. Take care, everyone. Bye.